Welcome, everyone, to the Vancouver Asian Film Festival Diversity in Filmmaking virtual panel series. I am Lynn Lee, the Festival Director of VAF, and I'm here to welcome you and to tell you what the latest and greatest is happening at VAF before we start today's panel. But let us begin by acknowledging the land that we're gathered on and live streaming from is the traditional unceded territory of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. I'm really excited to thank you for joining us today in our third of our Diversity in Filmmaking series. And this is actually our third year for bringing these industry panels to help people of color navigate and thrive in the film industry. This year being a unique and unprecedented year, we're celebrating the Asian Heritage Month by bringing you an insightful panel every Saturday in the month of May. We wanted to do something more practical that would help filmmakers of color to stay hopeful, to stay creative, and continue doing and pursuing their dreams, and to bring the community together, even though we can't physically do that. Sadly, Asian communities across Canada have suffered greatly since the COVID pandemic has started. Just yesterday, it was announced that in Vancouver alone, 29 incidences of anti-Asian hate crimes have been reported. That's 8 times more than a year ago. We must do something to stop hatred and racism. And that's why VAF has launched Eliminate Hate, a multimedia campaign to document and transform racist attacks against Asian Canadians into positive public service announcement videos made by filmmakers to eliminate this negativity of hate racism. We want people to share these videos to help the community come together and to help victims know they're not alone. Our call to action is to stand up and speak out against this violence. Please go to the website eliminatehate.org to join the movement and hashtag eliminate hate. We're pleased that the community is supporting us, and we're now working with the government of BC's Resilience BC Anti-Racism Network to produce 6 anti-racism videos for BC Hate Crimes website. And so we're looking for filmmakers who can produce 90-second PSA videos in Mandarin, Cantonese, Korean, Japanese, Tagalog, and Vietnamese. So please check out vaf.org and eliminatehate.org for more information in the next week or two. On a lighter note, VAF is doing something else that's new. Please join us tomorrow, Sunday, May 24th at 5:30 p.m. PST time for our very first Ask Me Anything live stream on Facebook, hosted by Milton Ng, the very hilarious comedian, actor, and also MAM winner and host, with our guest actor, Owen Kwong. We will dive deep into his thoughts and find out all about him. So you can actually submit your questions in advance to ama@vaf.org. That's our email address right there. So please go on the hashtag AskMeAnythingVAF as well. And speaking of MAM, which is our annual Mighty Asian Movie Making Marathon, this is our 15th year. And usually we kick off the year with our Diversity in Filmmaking series to inspire filmmakers to do their work and to join the competition. This year, we are delaying it a little bit, and we will be making announcements and details on our website in June. So please check out the website and find out everything under MAM, hashtag MAM15 at mam.org. So our Diversity in Filmmaking virtual panel series can't happen unless we get our wonderful sponsors. So we're very pleased and grateful for our sponsors: British Columbia Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Multiculturalism Branch, and Telestory Hive. We're also co-presented by our community supporters, Exploration, Vancouver Asian Heritage Month Society, Crazy Eights, Celluloid Social Club, Happapalooza, Pacific Canada Heritage Center Museum of Migration, Rain Dance Vancouver, Vancouver Short Film Festival, and Women in Film and TV. And you can watch this recording after it's finished on our YouTube site and also on Facebook, and also on TELUS Optic TV video on demand educational channel in the near future. So for today, we're very excited to present to you the Diversity in Animation panel. And we are very thankful for our guest speakers, Vincent Tong, Jenny Kong, and Andy Poon, who've worked on and appeared in big films and familiar films that they'll be talking about. And I'm very excited to introduce to you Joshua Lam, our moderator for today. And Joshua is an animation production coordinator and was a runner-up of an alumni of our Mighty Asian Movie Making Marathon 9th edition and also MAM 14th. So I'm going to hand it over to Joshua. But before I do that, thank you so much to all our MAM producers and DIF producers. We have Natch, who is helping us do our tech today. Joshua is also one of our producers. We have Mayumi and Regina and also Arnold. So have fun, everybody, and please check out all our events and continue watching on social media at VAF Vancouver. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Lynn. So, hey, everybody. I'd like to say thanks to VAF for having me. I'm Joshua Lam, and I'm excited to hold this year's very first DIF panel on animation. So a little bit about me is that I'm a little new to working in animation, and there's a lot of moving mechanisms I need to wrap my head around in order to understand how to make this final product. And because of my young curiosity, I have so many questions, which I believe a wonderful lineup of seasoned artists who brought their talent and experience to multiple projects can bring insight for everyone who's tuning in. So we have Andy Poon, Jenny Kong, and Vincent Tong with us today. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Hello. Not much. Hi.
Ooh, I hear some sizzling.
Someone's taking a shower.
How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Very, very well.
You?
It's Vancouver is kind of rainy again. It's cloudy.
Oh, maybe that's where that shower sound's coming from, right? Like a heavy rainfall. I don't know. So everybody's not too tired from sitting down all week, right?
No, not at all.
Can keep doing this again and again, especially today.
Just been binging a lot of series. I mean, working, but binging.
Yeah.
Work binging, both.
Work binging. Binging work. So I'll just get right into it. So our audience is watching today. They're very familiar with live action film sets, which normally has crews operating from the 50 to 60 people range during production. Animation, on the other hand, is a very different pipeline, often with 200 people working on a show. And it's just branching all over the place, dipping into design, rigging, literal animating, and on top of that, voice records and later, editing. Whew, that's a lot. So in all of that giant, beast, what do you guys all do in the animation industry?
Jenny, go.
But you're at the front of the pipeline, Vincent.
Oh, am I? I guess so. Yeah, we're the people that, if we screw up, you guys always, have to tell us to do it over and over again. So my name is Vincent Tong. I am an actor, voice actor. I guess in the realm of animation. Yeah, I do a lot of voices for animation and different cartoons and shows. Yeah, that's what I do. It's pretty easy. We have the easiest job in terms of, I think the whole system of animation. We really have the I don't know. I love my job, so I think I have a lot of fun in the sessions, and I feel sorry for the animators that have to listen to us over and over and over again. Because when the only times that we really get to see the animators sometimes is at a Christmas party or a rap party if we have one. And then we meet, they're like, oh, you're Vincent, you're that voice of that. Oh my gosh, I've listened to that one phrase that you said 500 times. I'm like, I'm so sorry. So yeah, that's what I do. I do voices.
Only if you have working on a musical, that's when it really.
Oh yeah.
Or screaming.
Yes.
Where you're next, Andy? You're like bottom of the
Um,
pipeline.
I'm Andy. I am an art director. So I am in the art department. So I'm in charge of designing the look of a show or a movie. Sometimes just characters. So I will be the one making sure Vincent's very handsome on screen. Yeah. And one of the actually coolest thing in the early part of my career is after I design something, I get to go to maybe a voice record session and actually like see someone like Vincent actually bring the character live. And I never get tired going to voice record sessions. It's just fun because sometimes we would get a track when we design characters. We may know like who's been cast, but sometimes we have no idea. So it's always a little bit of surprise, like who's get cast and how they're going to portray the characters that we designed. So
They're like, he's Asian? What?
I gotta make him Asian.
yeah, exactly. And sometimes that would play into it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I also make animators life difficult sometimes when I draw a lot of armors and stuff that requires a lot of rigging. So yeah, I'm on Vincent's boat of running away from animators.
So you're the one that makes it difficult for Jenny later on, right?
Yeah.
As we're moving along, it gets harder and harder
It's
and harder.
harder and
Yeah,
harder.
there's the saying that like each stroke that the designer put, it adds like 48 hours to like every down the pipeline. So
Oh my goodness.
Well, I'm Jetty. I'm the animator who gets to hear Vincent's voices and look at all the designs that Andy makes, and then complain under my breath about all the armor that is drawn and the screaming that I hear all the time. No, I'm kidding. It's actually a lot of fun to animate two voices, especially when it's really well done and there's like a lot of emotional detail to kind of like go on and run away with and be like, hey, I have all these different like acting ideas that I think I can do or use when I hear a certain voice. So basically, as an animator, I take things and then just make it move. Yeah, and then make people's lives down the line even harder because because effects artists don't like what animators do sometimes to make things move, and sometimes things pop and effects artists are like, oh, what happened? How did this happen? Why is this flying off screen? And then where did this armor piece go? Why did you hide it? And then I'm like, well, I had to hide it because I don't know how to make it not crash otherwise.
hence why we don't have effects artists on our panel today.
Yeah.
We're compositors who mess up all of my mistakes.
Oh, they'll probably be in the Q&A session and they're not even asking questions. They're just putting out statements, Like,
yeah, that's true.
WTF, you're making my life so hard.
Fix it in post. Yes.
Yeah.
Fix it in post.
And then post hates everyone.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Just keeps going down the line. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But so obviously I can see, in the background, you guys have some of the shows you're working on. So I see from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Dragon Prince, Monster High to Death Note. You guys have some like amazing credentials to some amazing films and shows. So what were some challenges and successes that you've experienced while working on some of these projects?
Well, there's a lot of technical challenges, especially for Spider-Verse, because there's so many like different 2D effects that they wanted to use and figuring out how to animate on twos, but you have cameras on ones. There's also like the creative.
What does all that mean?
So
Twos and ones. Explain it.
There's usually 24 frames in a second, sometimes 30 frames in a second if you're in video games, or even 60, although I haven't touched anything with 60 frames in a second as of current career track. But usually ones is like there's a image for every one frame, and then twos is one movement image, and then it's stretched to two, so one picture stands for 2 frames.
Cool.
So a lot of hand-drawn animation is done on twos because it's a lot of drawing if you need to draw.
Logistics.
Yeah, if you need to draw 24 drawings, so they cut it down to 12 drawings for a second.
Oh my gosh.
So for Spider-Verse, they wanted that 2D aesthetic, so they were trying to figure out how to make the movie look like it's on twos. But cameras are on ones, right? You can't like have cameras stuttering or that looks weird. So there was a lot of logistics in that, and then a lot of creative difficulties because what you want isn't necessarily what your lead has in mind, or not necessarily what the supervisor has in mind, or importantly, what the director has in mind. And then it goes up the chain, and then the director doesn't like it, kicks it all the way back to you. So there's all of that other technical and creative issues going on.
It was a great movie. Great movie though. I loved it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What about you, Vincent or Andy? Would you have you guys any successes or challenges?
Well, Dragon Prince has the exact same problem because it's a 3D animated show that also trying to emulate the traditional animation style. So yeah, it has the exact same problem as Spider-Verse has, like cameras moving on ones, or even some of the simulation, they need to calculate all the frames, but then the characters are moving in every second frame. So there's a lot of technical issues need to be solved. And then on the aesthetic side, it's always interesting working on 3D animation. I think most of us, well, mostly me and Jenny, I'm sure Vincent voice everything. But since like my very beginning of my career, I've just happened to work on shows that are 3D nature, but gravitate toward the 2D aesthetic, and that always propose challenges because we develop computer to kind of help us solve all the automated issues, but now we're telling the computer to, hey, let's not have you do everything. Let's actually have you convert back to what we are normally used to. So I think that's actually always the challenge of utilizing this powerful machine, but actually not using the machine how it was designed to do. But I think that's why it's a rewarding challenge, because usually the result coming out of that, it's something that is unique and special, because we're not letting the computer to dictate a lot of things. We're maintaining that artistic control throughout the process.
Like a complex paintbrush. A mechanical complex.
Essentially, like I mean, computer is just a super fancy version of the clear cells that we used to do 2D animation on Simpsons, right? It's just now it got all the fancy filters on it. It's like a Instagram now. You can do a gazillion things on it just from a photo. So I think part of the challenge is actually restraining artists or retraining the artist to kind of see this powerful machine is just another paintbrush rather than actually letting it dictate what it's doing.
For sure.
It's a beautiful show, and congrats on the Emmy nomination.
Yeah, it's cool. And that kind of shows don't come along. I mean, I know part of the report discuss it later, but like a lot of the shows in Vancouver are on the TV side, not movie side like Jenny works on, but on the TV side is generally gravitate toward like younger audience, like preschool type shows. So every time like Vancouver, one of the studio like get one of the shows that are more mature or like more on the fantasy side, like everybody would hear about it.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of a treat, but it's great because with all the streaming stuff now, there's actually a lot more demand on that type of show. So we're actually seeing a lot more of that type of shows flowing through the different studios in town. So
I'm excited for Magic.
Yeah, we're working on that. So yeah.
I mean, I'll speak for the voice actors. When we heard about Dragon Prince, everyone wanted to get on that show. Every voice actor, because it was such a cool, and like you said, we do a lot of preschool, children's animation. But for this show, when we heard about it, we all wanted to jump on it. So I was very, very honored when I got to play a little bit of a part in it. Yeah.
So I guess if you want to talk specifically about Dragon Prince or not, what were some successes or challenges you've had, Vincent, in your career as a voice actor?
Well, I guess for me, I started out doing something that every Asian parent wants them to do, is pursue musical theater. So I did that. Because every parent wants them to go into a very unsteady career of musical theater as a short Chinese guy. So that's what I did.
Oh boy.
I like challenges, clearly. So I did musicals for like 10 to 15 years professionally before I stepped into animation, voiceover stuff. So it was a challenge in itself doing musical theater. Being a short Asian guy is not the stereotypical aesthetic that they look for, but you gotta take it one step at a time. And I feel like I did pretty good for myself in Toronto and over here. And then I've always wanted to do animation. I loved cartoons as a kid, so I wanted to do animation, and I film agent that. And it's a very hard thing to get into, especially in Vancouver, and I'm sure in LA even harder. But it's just such a tight knit circle of people who have been doing it for years, and they're so freaking good at it, and they're so versatile, and they're great actors, and their range is just, it's so impressive. Because my very first show was called Sushi Pack, and I was on that show with Andrew Francis, Scott McNeil, Tara Strong, Sam Vincent, Brian Dobson. That's like the fiercest people in the business. And Sam Vincent is a guy who I've looked up to for a long time. And he was doing animation shows that I used to watch as a kid in the 80s. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm like standing next to this guy. I'm in the show with this dude, this legend, with all these legends. And so it was like, took so long for me to get us like a toe into the circle. And that was like my little like toe getting in there and like just sitting there as a sponge and just absorbing all this information, seeing how the whole thing works and what the terms mean. So it was like a baptism by fire. But I'm a quick learner. I pick things up fast, and thankfully I could do that. And then the next one was, I think, either Death Note or Iron Man, Armored Adventures. So that was really cool, because I think that for that show, it was really cool that they were seeing specifically, Marvel had a mandate to see specifically, people of that. If it was an Asian character, they wanted to see Asian actors representing those characters. And I really appreciated that. So I got to audition for the Mandarin and landed that part. And that was like my first sort of foray into it. Which was super cool. I mean, like working for Marvel as a kid, you're like, oh my gosh! I told my friends were huge comic book nerds, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're playing the Mandarin? I'm like, yes, I'm playing the Mandarin. He doesn't sound like this. He sounds a little bit cooler than that, but yes. So yeah, it's always a struggle. It's we can talk about this later, but we have to audition for every one of our parts. Even if we're in the show already, like a show like I've been doing called Ninjago, which has been going on for like 10,
Ever.
Yeah, forever, for like 9 or 10 seasons. I'm so grateful.
I think that's season 13 now.
Is it really? That's
I
nuts.
so.
Yeah, but I think we've been doing it for like 9 or 10 years. And, we still have to audition for these parts. Not for our own parts necessarily, but like for different parts within shows. And it's literally like you are going in for a job interview every single time. It's stressful. You're like fingers crossed for it, every single part that you want to get, but like 99% of the time you won't get it. So it's draining. So I think that's a big struggle. You have to have thick skin or really understand what this industry is as an actor, as a freelancer, like what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure. And I'm glad that you guys all have had like the rise of the phoenix from the ashes kind of moments in your careers.
Over and over again.
It helps.
I can imagine. And especially now that we're talking about work, obviously, we're actually pretty deep in this pandemic. What with this virtual box we're kind of talking in together. Mm-hmm. And now we're entering phase 2, where libraries, restaurants, retail therapy is back up with some restrictions. Everything else, especially film production, is currently locked down, which isn't the case for our side of the entertainment industry. With animation being one of the few that is able to work during this lockdown. Mm-hmm. So, how has working from home, those experiences, how have they been going so far for you all?
Well, I guess I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead, Jenny.
It's actually been, at least for the past month and a bit, quite calm. The initial working from home transition was a little bit harder, mostly just because of a lot of tech issues and trying to align Slack to work, trying to make sure we have all the licenses, trying to make sure just our servers at work are fine. Because right now with Waterproof, we're actually remoting in. And I know a lot of different studios have allowed their employees to take their towers home. So every studio is a little bit different. With us, we're remoting, so we're using our own home computer to get into the work computer. So there's like an extra layer of difficulty there, and then there's like issues with Maya and Motion Builder not working. So that I think took about a couple of weeks to iron out, and then once that was running smoothly, things have been going pretty good so far. Everyone's headsets and my webcams are working fine. Now it's just like kind of communicating like we are in studio, but just through a lot of messaging and like adding people just to make sure they see the messages, and setting just set schedules for meetings. Like there's a morning check-in and an afternoon check-in just to keep some regularity. But otherwise it's been pretty good.
Solid. That's great. Andy, what about you? You operate on a different pipeline, right? Because you're dealing with a lot of artists who are doing like illustrations and drawings, designs.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting for me because I also do a lot of freelance and I also work in live action. So, I mean, I'm kind of used to dealing with the virtual because a lot of my clients are international. But actually, myself, I still go into the studio quite a bit since there's only like 3 people. And like I said before, I have a whole bunch of kids. So actually, I kind of need the routine to maintain my workload. I think for designer, it's not as bad, but like I do think seems like Jenny said, like there's obviously a lot of like digital and computing happening, like how the speed of it and everything. I mean, even just Netflix, like binging, everybody's binging, like internet on network is slow. So and the whole industry is required on digital. So yeah, it's but I was very impressed, like all the students in town like act on it so quickly, like within like the first 2 weeks, like everybody, at least in some capacity, has been able to transition partial from home and such. So and I'm thankful for that because yeah, like there were a point in my life I was like, well, maybe I should switch to just full-time live action, and if I have done that, then
That's right.
This solution will be a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful that we can still keep going, and most of the history tells that like during like pandemics and depressions, like entertainment industry actually thrives as people need to be entertained. So especially with the live action, so there's a lot more, even a bigger void for more creative content from our sector of the entertainment industry. So it hasn't changed too much for me, and actually for me got a little bit busier because a lot of people are planning to try to have things ready to go when everything goes back to normal. So, and I'm actually primarily focused on the early visual development side. So everybody is kind of almost rushing, trying to have things prepared and designed and have Bibles done so that they can pitch to studios and have things ready to go when everything goes back to normal. So,
and I'm guessing you're the one heading a lot of that stuff because you're the art director, right? So
yeah, so in my role, sometimes like a lot of time I do the development part, and then when things get green lit, I might or might not follow that show continue on because then there's only one of me. So likely I might pass on to other art directors for the actual production part. But there's any specific show that requires my attention because maybe just the style, it fits me, or the way I understand the client, it fits me, then I might follow it. And until it kind of more automated, or if the whole team is understanding the style of the show, then I will kind of move on. But yeah, a lot of times, like right now I will be doing different artists, but also a lot of times I'm just myself. Usually I'm a one-man army in the beginning, because also the development time, they might not actually have the financial budget, the backup yet, so they actually cannot go ahead and hire the whole team quite yet. So I would actually take on a lot of different roles.
Wow.
Within that in the beginning. So
crazy. That's nuts. Then what about you, Vincent? Because I think actually the voice acting world's very different, obviously, because well, different but not different, because I know you got your sound booth, right? And your director can be like, you know, behind the pane of glass. So maybe not too much transference of this.
Yeah,
invisible...
sometimes there's a bit of spit on the glass, but you know, it works out as long as we don't lick the glass anymore. It's a new mandate. But yeah.
Well, where did Vincent go?
we have a new panelist. What?
Yeah, a new panelist coming up. Go.
No, it's cool. So for people that don't know, in Vancouver, what we like to do with the animation cast recordings is get the actual cast, whoever's in the script, is we all come into the room together. We record. We have the clients, the studio heads, the directors of the show, and the voice director and the engineers on the other side of the glass. So what they've done right now is they're following all the different protocols, the health protocols, but we're allowed to actually go into the studios and work one at a time. So they're bringing us all in one at a time to do our lines only. So it's a very short session, but we basically go in, everyone is, different studios will have different protocols, but for the most part, they've set up, in this one studio, they've set up 5 or 6 different microphones at different heights. So the engineer doesn't even have to come in to adjust the microphone for you. I bring in my own cans. I have my script on my phone or an iPad. And everyone's on Skype, the directors, the voice directors, the clients, and then the engineer's the only one in the studio physically with us. And then they'll, Lysol all the handles and everything. You bring your own water in, so you don't even have to go and touch the cupboards and everything like that. So yeah, it's been working out all right. It's a bit of a weird feeling. I love working with my friends and my peers within the studio. I feel like we're gonna get a way better response when we're working off of each other than just pretending someone else is saying the lines prior to you and reacting that way. But we can do it if we're professional enough. We can do it. And but yeah, it's a little bit strange. But we, luckily, knock on wood, our industry is still continuing. But the other day I had to do a scratch track basically for a new movie, but they're from out of town. They're from the States. So they don't allow, that studio is like, you cannot have anybody working in a studio. So even though in Canada we're allowed, the LA production is like, we cannot have them in the studio. So we just set everything up in my closet studio where I, that's where I do all my MP3 auditions from, which is fine because it's like 5 minutes, but I had to do this whole movie by myself. So it was like 3 hours of me just like screaming and yelling, and it was like exhausting. I like prepped it. I was wearing a tank top because I knew I'd be so sweaty. Because I'm just like surrounded by clothes and like closets clothes. It's not a pretty sight, but we did it. It was done, and they were very happy with it. But yeah, it's kind of neat that within this pandemic we can still work and kind of keep going. I'm very, very grateful. Like every single day, I'm so grateful that I still get to do this.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and it's great that that because of without live action, there's so much more need for content, like Andy said, right? And especially now animation. I know there's a couple shows now that are like filming or animating scenes or their own like parts of their shows are now animated now because they want to push forward the show, right? So
wow.
So good for us. We get some more business.
Yeah.
So a lot other shows now suddenly have a lot more dream and drug.
Yeah, right.
Psychedelic
dream sequence on drugs.
Well, that's what was really fun on Community. They often have like episodes mixed in that like the claymation or pixel stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Musicals.
Yeah,
musicals. I love the musicals. Bring it on.
Of course. So now that we're talking about like shows, and I remember Andy, you were talking about like binging, binge working. I've been binge watching like a lot of shows too, animated shows specifically. And I think right now on Netflix there's a childhood favorite going around. Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender. So
you're young.
I am young. I am young.
Childhood favorite. I was only 5 years old watching Avatar.
You know what's young?
That's me.
Little Josh.
I was interviewing a designer for a character designer for the role on Dragon Prince.
Yeah.
And she came in and told me, I grew up watching Stormhawk. Stormhawk was a show I first art directed.
Yes.
12, 15 years ago. She told me she grew up watching that, and so I'm like,
You just had a big
thanks.
sigh.
Feeling your age?
But I got Asian gene. I'm good.
Right, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, we're all good.
We're all good.
Marvelous.
Yeah.
Marvelous.
Until 60. We were just
Oh my
prunes
God.
up. But
Yeah.
Or 70. Sometimes you can push it.
You got to do this, right?
Yeah. Every day.
Oh my
Moms
gosh, my
do
grandma
that
does that every morning.
Oh yeah,
My
and you have to
grandma
walk
put, like-
backward.
My grandma put
park,
like
walk
egg whites on
backwards.
her skin.
Hey, those are effective apparently.
Apparently, yeah. But anyway, so yes,
bring
your
I'll
childhood
bring it
show.
back. Bring it back
Yeah,
to
I'll
the
bring-
childhood shows. So
Yeah.
so I was about to say I actually didn't grow up with Avatar. So I want to put it out there. So I didn't grow up with it, but technically I am still in that age group that should have grown up with Avatar. So I don't want to make you guys feel, any age about yourself.
What did you watch,
Seasoned.
Josh? What did you watch, Josh? What were your cartoons as a kid?
Oh my gosh, cartoons as a kid. I watched like I don't think if you guys know Transformers, right? Like like
Oh,
there's
yes.
like
Yes.
yeah.
How dare
Transformers.
you even ask? Yes.
You
You should
know
just
Transformers?
We're
Um,
Asians. Come on.
Okay, but other than Transformers, I wanted to bring it back to Avatar actually, just because I know a lot of people did grow up with that generation of watching Avatar. And if you guys have watched it, there's like a lot of cultural details the creators put in, both visually and narratively. And personally, I wish I grew up with that and not just Transformers. Like I can't grow up to be a giant robot, but obviously I can grow up to appreciate, like
We're getting
drinking
close
tea.
to that.
Yeah. But otherwise, I think where my question's coming from is growing up, what's been a huge inspiration for you guys, cartoons or shows or whatever that's helped your work or your style?
For me, it's interesting because we're watching a lot more TV right now, and I watched this because I just got Disney XD, and I watched Bedknobs and Broomsticks. I don't know if you guys know that movie, but it's a musical, and I used to watch this movie all the time as a kid, and like rewatching it just sparked these like memories that just started like connecting to like deep memories of this show, and I'm like, holy crap, this is why I love animation, because it was like Mary Poppins. It was like a few years before Mary Poppins, where it was like a live action, but they had like cartoon fish and lions and stuff like that, and it was a musical, and I'm like, holy crap, this is why I love musicals. And watching old Aladdin, and like going like, Jasmine, do you trust me? Do you trust me? And I'm like, holy shit, that's my voice. This is my voice for like the heroes. This is the guy. Like, holy, that's where my voice came from, like the hero voice that I use. It was like Prince Eric, like Ariel, what's going on? Like, it was like a total like just a flashback to inspirations that I didn't even know were in me. So for me, I'm like a huge Disney guy. I love Disney. I love Disneyland. And grew up watching Disney when everyone else was like, I love Marvel and like Wolverine and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I love that too. But like, you guys want to talk about like Huey, Dewey, and Louie, like how crazy they are that they're nephews of Donald. They're like, whatever, dude. So yeah, for me, it was like I'm like a huge Disney nut. So anything Disney, and like a dream of mine would be to like work on like a Disney feature and like have a song.
So it'd be like Frozen 3 or something like that.
Oh my
right?
gosh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Olaf's other brother or something.
Oh, what a dream that would be. Yes.
What about you, Jenny?
Oh, I'm a little bit different. Like I also like Disney, especially the 90s, because that was my childhood.
Yeah.
Aladdin is absolutely my favorite because
Yes.
he's a gorgeous man, even though animated.
Oh, I had the biggest crush on Ariel, so.
Yeah,
We're good.
right.
We're good.
But I think my main inspiration was actually Final Fantasy X.
Oh.
It was all of the Square cinematics. I was like, oh my god, this looks beautiful. I really want to make like these really cool, beautiful looking cinematics animation. I didn't know it was cinematics when I was like 12, but it looks really beautiful, and I really wanted to do it. And I didn't know how, but I just kind of kept pushing for it. And also Final Fantasy IX and anime, because that's kind of what like our household was watching. So there's like a lot of Full Metal Alchemist and a couple other ones that I can't. Death Note was one of them actually.
Inuyasha, was that a good one too?
Yes.
Inuyasha was like Cartoon Network late night. Oh my god, I get to stay up past 12, and then that was like the only thing available. So it's like it hits like a niche area, but not quite up there with what I like. But and then I grew up and started animation school and paying more attention to like how the Disney masters animated and like how much character they bring, because like I guess there's less character quirks that are more visible in anime and in Final Fantasy cinematics. It's a little bit harder to find the personality, whereas a lot of Disney stuff has an abundance of it. So it's like a nice crossover as I was training to be an animator of like, oh, well, there's these Japanese influences that are really cool and amazing, but Disney also brings a lot of character, and not just Disney, like there's DreamWorks and all that other stuff as well. So you know, it all meshes in.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that you brought up video games, because I feel like that a lot of people have grown up on Final Fantasy. I remember walking around in like Crystal Mall as a kid. If you guys know where Crystal Mall is,
yes.
Yeah, it's just like and there's that I think the game shop is still there, but they used to have those long unwrappable posters, right? That are made of cloth and they're yeah. So I'm pretty sure we all been there. But for Andy, actually, then what's your inspiration growing up?
I have a quick question. Where are you guys born?
America.
Oh, I was born in Vancouver, BC.
Jersey,
You, Josh?
Jersey girl.
Oh, I'm here as well, BC
Okay.
as well.
So I was born in Hong Kong, and I didn't move here till I was 12, 1994. So I grew up watching the typical Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, Gundam. I watched Akira when I was maybe 6 and 7. I probably shouldn't have. So it was very interesting that after I moved to Canada, like Dragon Ball was just arriving here.
That's true, yeah.
So I kind of had a head start in terms of the Japanese animation culture. But growing up, I wanted to actually be a comic book artist because I was mostly reading a lot of comic books. And then Dragon Ball Z was a huge influence. But then to Jenny's point, at some point I was like, I don't think anatomy looks like that. So I started actually almost abandoning the more exaggerated Japanese style manga animation for a while, and actually really gravitate toward like Western animation. So I started watching a lot more like Bugs Bunny and like the Batman animated series was like it's really what I mean. I love Batman. That's like my favorite thing. But that really kind of showed me like another side, like, oh, there's a lot more like subtlety in the animation and the acting. And I was still in Hong Kong. So then once I moved here, I then start actually like understanding as I get older that, okay, Japanese animation, the way they draw it or the way they animate, the acting, it's not like a weird thing. It's like, one, it was a choice because of the budget, but they kind of turn it into a style as well. And then also then I start noticing that like it's different because they focus on different aspects, like just the way they view the art is just different. So it's interesting that now, like fast forward like 15 years, 20 years later, now Western animation is imitating the Japanese animation and bring the good stuff from the West and the good stuff from the East, and now we have things like you said, like Avatar, which is essentially a new hybrid of animation that is homaging and evolved from Japanese or Asian animation, but with a lot more of the nuances from Western animation. So I think
Combination. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean that's a good way to learn, right? Or evolve an art form is mixing in other good things from other culture and utilizes it. And then as a designer, like that's essentially what we do, right? Like we constantly redesigning a cup, like so we constantly have to find new influences how to make a cup interesting again this time, right? So it's interesting, kind of being from one side of the world and then now on the other side of the world.
Right.
Yeah, because that really definitely does inform how you grew up and how you see the world, right? So
for sure. And it's interesting now that because China and all the different Asian countries, their entertainment industry also trying to catch up to the Hollywood side. And there's a lot more co-production happening. And like often I'll get a call, be like, hey, Andy, you understand the Asian culture and aesthetic, which I do. Can you come and help, like almost like do some consulting or like kind of take a look at like this story or design based on Chinese mythology, and like what's your take on it? Like what's something we can give that has a new, fresh Western take, but is still authentic to the Asian culture and background. So there's a lot more of that happening, and it's interesting.
That's beautiful, and that's actually awesome. That's great that's happening behind the scenes, right? So
yeah.
But since we're on this tangent of cultural appreciation on a global scale, there's, like I said, there's recently been a huge spike of representation in all industries alongside entertainment, and specifically in animation. We had Sony's 2019 short Hair Love and Pixar's 2018 short Bow, and both of those have won Academy Awards. So I guess my question then I'm going to form with you guys is, how do you think representation behind the scenes affect the story and final product? Take it away, anybody. I know you got to think a little bit.
I think it's quite a lot. And I'm actually really happy that we're getting more opportunity to bring more of like the culture that we grew up with or partially grew up with, since some of us are born in North America and have a fusion of culture. So it's nice to see like, oh, hey, like this is what I grew up with, basically, because like Bao really resonated with me. I was like, oh my
totally.
God, I was crying. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is how family felt like as a kid. Like you make stuff and you cook and you like gather and you eat. And I think in a way, how animators can put more of us in it is a little bit more subtle. Like for us, it would be more of like how we choose to depict our acting choices or how we want to pose something. And I think it might be a little bit more obvious for Andy because he can design something that looks Asian, or something that reflects his culture or our culture and our aesthetics. And I don't know, it's hard to say. Like I feel like it's a little bit more subtle on my end and a little bit more obvious for other departments, but there's ways for us to do it in our jobs.
Has there been a way for you to kind of navigate that for yourself, Jenny? Has there any moments where you have been able to inject some of that
Background
that culture?
characters, yeah.
Background characters.
Yeah, because no one cares about background characters. Like it's not on screen for that long. It's all the way in the back. Like no one really pays attention. There's a hobo you need to animate. I'm like, oh, I'll just like animate the Asian squat and eating rice or something.
Now you make me want to go to all your projects and just kind of like scope out all.
Find the Jenny moment.
Where's that Asian guy squatting?
Yeah, we do. We try like for very things that no one really pays attention to put some funny stuff in. Sometimes it's not quite mature, but
keep our eyes out then, for sure. What about you guys, Vincent and Andy?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I just watched this show called Hollywood on Netflix, and it just deals with a lot of it takes place in the 50s and about just like racial acceptance at that time and the struggle for this one Asian actress and a black gay writer, and it's a beautiful story, and it just shows you how difficult it is to be accepted when you're not the typical aesthetic of Hollywood, whatever that is in live action or in animation. Sometimes it's difficult for the audiences, not even the audiences, sometimes it's more difficult for the producers, so the clients to accept an Asian lead or a gay black lead. And it was cool seeing their struggle in there, but it also made me a bit sad because the struggle is still here now. It's still just as hard to have an Asian female lead, to star in a live action. And I feel that the cool thing about animation is that we get to push those envelopes. And I feel that, I don't know if it's the clients or the writers that push this mandate more, but I feel like it's much more accepted in our genre. And I feel like it's a beautiful thing. I was cutting together my on-camera demo reel, and I'm editing it, and I was like, I've got like 5 great pieces up there, and I'm watching, and I'm like, holy shit! If I didn't know these shows, it would be the same Asian gangster. He's just wearing a different shirt, and now he's got glasses, and now he's a Dilo, and now he's got tattoos. It's like just gangsters. And I'm like, this is really kind of sad, And then I look at my animation reel, and I'm playing like a kid with red hair. I'm playing like a green tomato. I'm playing a ninja. I'm playing a little Dracula. I'm playing white guys. I'm playing whatever. And I just find it, it's really cool what animation is doing and how they can just sort of see past it, to see past what this is and just look for the talent that's in, whatever. If you're the most talented person, you should be hired. That's what I believe, And the cool thing about this whole movement now that, it's first of all, I think it's so freaking cool to see all of us here and go like, we all work in the arts, and like this probably was not possible or not as encouraged 10 years ago, 20 years ago. None of us young people would be here doing this. And I find it phenomenal that we've come this far, but there is a lot further to go. But yeah, I love that, we're doing something with this right now.
For sure.
Yeah, like when I was much younger, like in high school, I used to do a lot of background work, being an extra on scene. And like you said, usually it's a gang scene, or a flashback Chinatown scene, or it's a sci-fi movie in the mutant area. That's when you see diversity. That's when you hire the guys with tattoos, different ethnicity, right? Just to interesting visual. Therefore, it's sci-fi. Like space food, it's always like chicken feet and squid and intestines. like you look at Klingon food, right?
Delicious.
Right? To us, I'm like, great. That's the Sunday dim sum grandma.
Exactly.
That's right. I mean, on my part, it doesn't change much. But like you said, like I've been reading quite a few like actors who are mixed race in Hollywood. In the past, they have chosen to use the Western last name. It's partly either from the dad's side, mom's side. But now more and more they are actually using the Chinese name. Yeah, so it's great seeing that, and then to your point, Vincent, I think animation kind of allows that, because I think the younger generation they don't have that tinted like vision or like idea of what things are supposed to be like.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it also gives more freedom to producer to not even push the boundary, just to kind of do it how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, a show called 16 Hudson right now, and it's about this building with all these kids that live in it, and they've got it's a Persian writer and an East Indian, like they're a couple, a husband, they like write the show, and I get to play little Sam, and he's Chinese, and there's like a Persian family, and then there's like a Syrian refugee family that came to live in the building, and it's just like, this is why it's so beautiful. We have to educate these kids at a younger age that like we can be anything we want to be, and they see themselves. Like, I didn't see myself on TV. I watched a ton of cartoons. I never saw myself. I saw Splinter, and he was a rat, and he's right. That's all cute. And Shredder. And that, that's all we see. And like now, it's so cool to see shows like Dragon Prince, where you have every ethnicity represented, sexual orientation represented. It's just so beautiful. Class represented.
Yep.
And it's just an amalgamation of like, what is our reality now? And it's not just white bread, which is so cool, because that's what I was eating as a kid. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's all we could have, right?
And now we can have bao.
Now we can have bao, baby.
Oh my God.
Oh, bao made me cry.
It still makes me cry.
Yeah, I made a lot of people laugh in the audience because they didn't understand it. But I think from an Asian perspective, it's like, wow, it really hits.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Like I think when that first came out, like I actually had to. There's quite a few conversations, and I'm sure you guys have to explain to friends who doesn't quite understand
Yeah.
the hidden meaning behind that,
Totally.
and like why is that emotional, or why is that like crazy? Like because that is how Asian moms are.
Totally.
Like that's but it's interesting. Like I was watching a fashion, like a competition show, kind of like Project Runway, and it was very interesting that they're one of the team, the two girls, one's Korean and one's from Beijing, China, and they almost won all the challenges. If not, they were at least the top. And one of the comment that reoccurring was always like, you guys' aesthetic is so unique and fresh. And then I started analyzing it. I'm like, those are actually very traditional. They have taken something very traditional to their own culture and have contemporized it. But because to the Western world, some of those shape languages or the silhouettes or the way it's seeing, to them it's completely outside the box.
That's right. Yeah, it's different.
So in a way, we used to have more disadvantage, and now it almost become advantages. So that's one thing that I can see kind of applies from my particular area, is that I have certain point of views that like that other people might have not been used to. So that almost become another set of tools that I have.
Very cool.
For sure. And
it's a secret MSG that I put
in your little bowl of noodles. Awesome.
That's right. That's right.
So I think we're before we jump into Q&A, I think we have like a couple more minutes. I wanted to bring our focus back to Vancouver, and essentially that I think we all know that Vancouver's primarily like a service industry when compared to other filmmaking capitals in the world. So what are you guys doing to put local content on the map, or if there are any personal projects that you guys like to jumpstart to put Vancouver, in the eyes of everyone that we're here to create.
Right.
Yeah.
We used to hear in the film industry, like mostly, especially live action, that often Vancouver don't have the talents. That's a lot of the answer for a lot of things, like the crews and such. We're hearing a lot less now. Like, I mean, most of the show comes here. Sure, it's the tax credit, but also because we do have the talent. And there are a lot more shifts of the creative part, I think, is being done in Vancouver. I mean, yeah, there's still the Hollywood machine going on, but I think the streaming part has like become a launch pad for a lot more diverse creators, because they don't care. They're just looking for good content. You could be in anywhere in the world. You have something interesting. Internet, it's helping a lot. Instagram, I mean, I don't even know how many random artists I follow a day that I don't even know where they're from, and I don't care where they're from. But yeah, like I think like I think people in Vancouver have always been creating stuff. It's just I think now it's open for them to expose them.
For sure. What about you, Jenny? Anything that you're working on, or any ideas of maybe how the animation industry could take strides to putting more local content on the map?
I don't have anything personal going on. I'm still recovering from some burnout.
Oh no.
But I'm always open to like taking on new projects, and actually that's how I met Nash and all that stuff. It's like if people in Vancouver want to do anything, or they happen to stumble onto me somehow, I'm usually very open of like, okay, well, let's see what's going on, and usually if it's not really shortchanging anyone on any side, it's like, okay, well, let's do this. Let's have fun. Let's do something that is, if it's locally produced, awesome, and if it pushes like our perspective and our thoughts and all that other cool stuff. And yeah, like I mean, I don't think I have anything super ambitious. Just like, hey, let's be here and just do what people want to do.
Yeah, support those artists to come out with their stories, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. What about you, Vincent?
I work with a video game company called Clay Entertainment, and they've done games like Don't Starve, and I've voice directed some stuff for them, and it's really cool because it's my buddy Jeff Agala, who I like grew up with and went to church with and stuff like that, and just to see like this like Filipino kid who's like, you know, we were all just grew up together. Now he's running this like huge video game company. And it's so cool. He's like so willing to collaborate with me. And I have a buddy, one of my oldest friends, Chris. He was an accountant because he's a very good Chinese boy, right? So then he quit because he's just like, I'm sick of it. I'm not happy being an accountant. And so he went to the Vancouver Film School and became a writer. And you know, now we're like thinking about, you know, we have all these ideas. We're trying to tell like our story. We're like, is it interesting? But I'm like, yeah, it is interesting. This is our story. We have to write what we know. And we're kind of like thinking about this like idea. I don't know if I should like tell the world right now, but you know, just like about like two weird Asian kids who like are obsessed with martial arts but suck at it, you know. And I think like that's our story. This is our like we were like, yo, what's better, karate or kung fu? Like, no, kung fu's better. And like this is the stupid stuff that we would talk about. And I think it'd be like a fun like little concept with some like, I don't know, just some fun stuff. So we're in the midst of like trying to like get Jeff involved with stuff like that, and trying to just like get cool Asian people involved and tell an Asian story that hopefully like kids growing up, that's Josh's age, you know, you're 15 years old.
I mean, that's what it is, right? I'm a 15-year-old moderator.
Vincent, we should talk. I got some kung fu stuff going.
Oh yeah, nice man. Yeah, I would love.
There you go. You just witnessed it happen, Josh.
This is it.
This is it. Bringing people together.
Hey man, later down the pipeline, I'm here.
That's it. We're
way later.
Jenny can do animation.
All right, I'm gonna write up the production schedule right now and I'll get us started up.
Go.
You know.
Yeah. There we go.
Awesome. Yeah. No, that's great. That's an awesome initiative that you're starting there, Vincent. I think it's going to really help us Vancouverites and everybody who's watching. Hopefully it inspires you guys to get out and hopefully animate or make something, right? So now I think we're gonna jump into Q&A because we've got a couple questions coming in from all our awesome viewers. The first one that we have is from Korean Canuck. And their question is, of all the shows you worked on, which one was your favorite to work on?
Which one? Well, I'll speak first. Maybe this was just one of my very first ones, and it has something to do with Asian people. It was this was like 10 years ago, so I don't know if it can happen now. But it was like for a neighbor character called Henry Wu or Wong or something, and they were like, yes, he's an Asian guy. He kind of like gets into this to it with the lead boy's father, and he's Asian. So like so of course I come in with my proper Asian accent, right? Very Hong Kong. So did you want the Mandarin accent? That's a bit different, right? And they're like, oh yeah, it's great, but can you just a little bit more? And then I'm like, I think I know where they're going with this. So like progressively, the Asian accent got a little bit bigger, and then they're like, oh my gosh, like what is going on here? this
It's
is so
so choppy.
crazy. Yeah, this is the way it. And they're like, that's the one. And I'm like, okay, no problem. And so that became the character. And they loved the character. And they kept writing him in more and more because, I think I did a good job and I made, some improv stuff that made them laugh. But it's interesting that it was a great show. I got to work with some really cool people and with some important people in the Vancouver industry who got to see what I could do. And I'm not just an Asian actor anymore. I'm like some guy that actually has some comedic chops and some versatility. But it's just interesting that I don't think that would fly anymore. That kind of direction, that kind of character. I don't know if they would push him like that anymore.
Yeah.
Because probably 10 years before that, it was a white guy doing it because no Asians were doing voiceovers.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. I just watched a series, Kingdom, the Korean series on Netflix. And I always have this debate, or like when they hire a voice actor to dub it, they speak in English, but they hire people with an accent. I always have the thought about like, should they? I don't know. Like,
did they have a Korean accent?
Yeah, like they speak English on the dubs, but it's not like perfect.
I have
English.
no idea. I've never really.
I thought about this topic a lot. I don't know why.
Like, does Jackie Chan have an English accent?
Jackie Chan does have the Jackie Chan accent,
but he does his own accent, right?
Yeah, but then he's naturally his accent. So when he speaks English, he's not trying.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Put an accent on.
You know what's weird? I did a show called Bob the Builder, which is like an animation from the UK, but because it's English, it's literally English. Right. But I had to go in and like do Mark. He's like this like dump truck. So in England, they speak like this. They're like, hello Bob, what's going on? But I guess they're like the Americans won't understand that, so I have to go in and go, hey Bob, what's going on?
Yeah, like, so it's an interesting topic.
It's English.
I think about a lot.
Yeah, I have no idea, man. It's messed up, dude.
What about Jenny? What's a favorite project that you've worked on?
I actually have two.
Okay.
I really enjoyed working on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2012. It was actually kind of not quite my breakout project, but like the project certainly where I grew the most and learned the most in animation, and like probably one of the more stressful and challenging projects. I mean, Spider-Verse is the second one. Spider-Verse takes a cake for all of the stress and all of the emotional roller coasters and all of that. Spider-Verse took the cake for, but I think Turtles was the initiation, and I learned a lot. And like, I've met so many cool people that like we're still friends with. I met my fiance on Turtles.
Cool.
I can see why. That's a big, huge, favorite show right there.
Oh my god!
Not because of him. It's just because like I thought it was really fun animating on it. Because like you get to do so many different things. I get to do acting shots. I get to do action shots. I get to like have a lot of creative freedom. And Spider-Verse was like, oh my god, this is really cool. I get to be a part of history, and like I get to contribute in some way to making this groundbreaking film, and it was really cool, just in all kinds of aspects. So like, I don't know, they both brought really different things to the table that I really enjoyed and shaped my career, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I can definitely see that because it's mounted on the back of your wall for everyone to see.
We're all animators have signed the posters. I'm sorry, other departments, you're also equally important.
Cross your heart. What about you, Andy? What's your favorite?
I don't know if this is a favorite project, but I think for me it's more of a certain particular time of my career, when it was more on the earlier front, when the team were not as big, the company were not as big. That's when I actually had the most creative input and freedom. And as the career goes, there's a lot more bigger machines and more different levels that comes in, more executives. So, but I think now that's why I try to create my own project, so I can get it back to that time in a sense, that like We have more creative control to ourselves, tell our own stories. So I think for me, it's more like, a certain time. I would say, maybe like Stormhawks from like 12, 15 years ago. I got to be involved from the beginning to all the way to like all the toys development.
Wow.
And for me, I'm a huge toy guy. Like, there's no better feelings holding like an action figure in your hand. Something physical.
Boy.
Totally.
That instead of just on the screen, that I can actually hold it. Like, hey, I kind of made this. It's kind of like a baby. Like, I'm sure for Vincent, like holding a character that you.
All my stuff. I got a whole shelf of toys.
Yeah.
Like, I'm obsessed. I love toys.
Yeah, I have like these guys.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Oh, burpee.
Like, there's no. So I think, and pretty much any shows. I mean, every show. I think I try to put something unique in it, and they all some special in some different ways for me. So
I love Burpee. He was the cutest animator.
Burpee is very cute.
did you animate Burpee?
Yeah, I animated Burpee. I was on Slugterra.
That's so cool. We were all on Slugterra.
Yeah. Burpee was like.
I should just introduce you guys. The original cast of here.
Yeah, so
It's like my second project after animation school.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
It's nuts. Actually, I do have a question for Vincent. Actually, from Little Ree, and it says,
Little Ree?
"What's up, Little Ree? How many characters can you do?"
How many characters can I do? I don't know. I really have no idea. I can do some of these guys for you. So that's Flash Sentry, and that's Flash Sentry in pony form. And this is Garble the Dragon. He's a bit of a punk. This is like the stoner dude, but he's in My Little Pony. This is all My Little Pony. And this is Donut Joe. He runs the donut place, I guess.
That's Drac. He's a little like vampire from Super Monsters.
And that's the Mandarin. My voice can't go that deep anymore.
That's Mega Man. That's Oculite from the new Mega Man Fully Charged series.
And that's Jestro from Nexo Knights. He was kind of based off of Steve Buscemi. And that's what I kind of did, this kind of voice. And that's Dan Zambrowski from, this is one of the first series I did called Packages from Planet X. That's about it. I mean, I think I could do a few more, but.
I just wanted to close my eyes and just see all the characters come to life in my head. That was awesome. That was amazing.
Oh, thanks, Josh. That's very nice of you.
Hey, Vincent, how do you file the voices away? Do you see the character and instantly you can connect that voice again?
Yeah, usually that's what I do. Yeah, in Nexo Knights, I had to talk to myself a lot because I played on a Jestro, but I also played this little artist. His name was Roberto Arnoldi, and this guy was a little small little Italian guy. He used to do the little chiseling. It's very nice. Oh, you have a Donut Joe. Oh, really? Look at that. Thank you very much for having Donut Joe. Really appreciate it. You can send me my cut anytime. Your voice work is so cool. Yeah, you know what it is? I really am, very, very blessed to be able to do this. But, sometimes it gets really tiring. This is my normal voice. So it's so good to finally come back to be normal. Thank you.
You sound like Tie My Shoe.
Tie My Shoe. Hamburger for 29 cents. At McDonald's.
Baby.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
I remember that. That's so cool.
So moving down. Oh my god, that was crazy. The next question we have is from Barbara Lee. This is a bigger, more thoughtful question. So, do you think more animated shows will go into production since social distancing makes it more difficult with live actors? How do you see this new reality affecting animation projects moving forward?
I think so. But I also think there's a lot more new form of animation production that are. I've been talking to quite a few friends about what does this whole pandemic spawns out. I think it will spawn out not even some new production that not traditional animation production. Maybe even shorter form of content, almost like I don't know what it is, almost like TikTok, like shorter things that you can done fast, smaller team, like almost like a little SWAT team of like maybe a Jenny, a Vincent. Like we can make a little short like 2-minute shows every week that just put on like a channel that we have or something like that. A lot of people doing things at home by themselves, so I think it'll spawn like a new form of animation content that is on top of the traditional ones that bigger companies would do. But I think it's almost becoming opportunity for new creators.
Yeah, I hope it happens. I mean, with the film and TV stuff, we're getting notices that they're writing for main cast only, so they're going to have the really reduced guest stars and day players, just because they don't want other people coming in to contaminate the set. So it really is quite sad for a lot of Vancouver actors, because those unfortunately are the parts that we get, and sometimes even lose out to LA actors. Yeah. So hopefully animation will be able to kind of have that push for more content here in Vancouver.
Yeah, I think it'll also have more projects coming in. I don't know how much more or when or the nuances of it, but I think it's happening because like it doesn't seem like any of the animation houses, effects houses, gaming houses in town are slowing down at all. Like honestly, like we're hiring. Like Waterproof is hiring for people, and I know Sony's hiring. It's I guess a mini boom in a way, which is great for artists. Hopefully it trickles up to needing more voice work and then design work and all that stuff. So I think like it's definitely not slowing down. And I've gotten like people touching base with me. It's like, hey, do you know anyone who need work? And I'm like, I don't know. I think they're all working right now.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's like I guess a silver lining in the current situation, which I'm very grateful that we have.
I know that we can still sit here on our at home and just type away, do our things, and a lot of people are just waiting for what we make. When is it going to come out? I want to see.
Maybe more people will go into animation at this point in time. Who knows?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Or just a lot more talk shows. We can start a talk show.
Yeah.
I mean, Vincent could start his own talk show with 5 characters.
One-man army.
Actually, it's really funny. I did actually have a question I was going to ask before the Q&A, but maybe I can drop it here really quick. So I know, like, for everyone who's watching, I know not everybody watching is an animator per se or in the animation industry, but I know there's a lot of people who do kind of want to get into the animation industry, because I know with education here in Vancouver, we got Vancouver Film School, Vancouver Acting School, and Capilano University to be there for people wanting to break out in the field. But apart from going to school, can anyone pursue any avenues in animation or voice acting from home?
100%. I think like animation is a very I think it's still niche, but it's growing out of its niche corner, and it doesn't need a brick and mortar school. Like I still support alumni. I still support CAP. Like, go to CAP if you want to go to a brick and mortar school. But like, if you want to be an animator or even other departments, like Anim Squad, there's a whole slew of online schools at Animation Mentor that will just teach you, and it's more monetarily efficient, and you learn the same things. It's just the information is there and the tools are there. It just depends if that's your learning style. I think that's the major issue. It's like, do you learn better in a brick and mortar environment, or do you learn better online? Because online has so many different resources, and it's actually a very I don't want to say easy, because animation and art are very difficult in their own ways. But you can do a lot of it on your own. You can self-teach yourself. You can like I started learning how to draw on my own. I'm not great at it, but like I started off self-taught. Same with animation. Like, there's so many different online tutorials and online classes and YouTube channels who kind of help you along with like the technical stuff. It's up to the person. Like, if the person is motivated, they'll find a way to get in.
Yeah, I was gonna say YouTube is a huge resource. Yeah. I mean, I learned how to fix my patio door today. Literally.
I was fixing my toilet. Yeah, like it was like, yeah, YouTube.
Right? You're like YouTube. I like literally been living with this latch that it doesn't latch, and I fixed it after 7 years of being here. But honestly, if you guys look on YouTube, look on tutorials. I mean, for voiceover work, we all have a studio now, really, on our phones. You could use the voice recorder, download Twisted Wave. That's a great free app you can use. Just tape yourself, listen back, watch cartoons. Look up your favorite voice actors if you guys are into voice acting, and look up what they do, how they approach their process, and listen to yourself, work on it. Because to tell you the truth, voice acting is about acting. It's not about doing crazy voices. That's awesome if you can do it, but it comes down to the acting first. If you're a good actor, then you'll book. You can do only 2 voices, but if you're a great actor, you will book and you'll work.
Great. Awesome. What about you, Andy?
So I was self-taught for actually what I do in the industry. Now the great thing is like we have internet. That's all the resource. When I was a kid, I didn't have money, didn't have internet. The way I learned to draw, I go to a newspaper stand where they have comic books. I go home and draw, bring the drawing back the next day to see if it match.
Wow.
That's how I did when I was a kid. But I agree, like Jenny said, I think nowadays you can almost learn any art form on your own if you have the passion and dedication for it. Now, I think you do need the school to kind of refine it, and also to kind of have that right environment for you to kind of almost take the last little push for you to become a professional ready. And the other good part of that is you also meet a lot of your future colleagues and networking. That's almost the first step of networking, is a lot of time through schools. At some point they will become a producer or a supervisor, you never know. So I think that part is great. So I think it's almost like a mix and match. Like, it depends on who you are. Like, you could probably study like 90% of it and just kind of find some sort of formal way to kind of like almost put the final touch on it, kind of thing. But if you're not someone who's self-motivated, then maybe you do need the school to kind of give you the right environment settings for you to succeed in it.
It's also, I think, discipline with school.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, it's too easy at home if you're a gamer. You just can turn on video game. Yeah. And some people just actually need the quote unquote your production environment. You need a deadline to kind of help you to train up that professional side and maturity side of things like that. So it depends. But yeah, the internet's amazing. Like, you can buy a Gumroad video how to do 3D modeling for like $10. Right? Most of the fancy 3D software now have a trial or a student version of it. You can do it at home. Like, you really, like, I never question, when I hire someone, I never question where they go to school. If your artwork is good, then you're good. The only thing that the school might inform me is like, okay, maybe the school have taught you some sort of prepare you a little bit more on terms of what a production environment might be like. That's something that you can really learn yourself. You can find out information, I'm sure, on the internet yourself, or maybe connect with artists that are in the industry to kind of gain knowledge that way. But so that's like maybe the one little thing that I think school might be able to provide, is like a lot of the teachers have worked in the industry or currently in the industry that can inform you what the actual environment would be like.
For sure. Awesome. These are great suggestions for everybody that's listening in, right? So thank you for that. We actually have time for one more quick question. And I think this is a good one because I guess it's a sort of a call to action for the future. So this is from Mimi Osuga. What kind of changes would you want to see in terms of representation for animation writers / people developing stories? And I know this is different because you guys don't operate on the script side. So what's a dream you want to push forth?
Well, for me, it's just like to have Asian representation, but not for the sake of representation,
right?
But for the sake of a good story.
Yes.
You know, I was asked to direct a a theater production once of a very famous play, and they wanted to change it all and be like, okay, instead of cards, they'll be playing mahjong, and we're gonna have a little like shrine up there. I'm like, why? Why are we changing this amazing play? Like, let's just do it as good actors. Why do we need to make it so Chinesey? So that's what I would love for people to write, and I think that's what my buddy Chris and I are just aiming for, is like just to tell a good story that's real with real people, and it doesn't have to be for any specific representation purpose to fill a quota or to fulfill any stereotype or any. There's no fulfillment. Just like tell a good story with good people.
That's sincere.
The sincerity, the genuine story.
Yeah. Not to do the head count. Like, hey, hold on, wait a second. Do we have the black guy? Okay, we need to put one there.
Exactly.
Do we have the redheads? No. Let's put 2 there.
Yeah.
Chinese guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just look to a point that hopefully it's just like nobody needs to think about that anymore. Hopefully.
Yeah. Let's just tell a good story.
I agree. I think, like, to Vincent and Andy's point, like, there's so much of that in Hollywood right now. Like, we need representation. We need to push for all of these things, and gender. We need to make sure we have a good ratio. But it's like, what really makes something good is how good the story is and how authentic it is. And like, well, if it doesn't need mahjong, then you don't need mahjong. Like, if Chinese people play cards too. I go home and I play cards all the time with my family.
There you go.
It's literally all we do. But I mean, like, it's just, I mean, it would be nice to have stories and projects of different backgrounds, but with like authenticity of like, okay, well, Asian American background. It's like, well, you're struggling with how to integrate into Western society, but you still have the struggle of like internalizing your own culture. Like, like, what is it like to be, I guess, a Chinese person?
Yeah, and that's interesting, though, right? That is interesting because it is a struggle, and I feel like the hard part is like getting the people, whoever they are, producers, money people, clients, to understand that, to show a story like Bao, and and have an audience. Like when I was sitting there, like half of the audience was laughing because they didn't understand it. Right. It's to like get those people that are laughing to like go, this is why we feel something. This is why it's emotionally attached to us, and I think getting that, I still don't know where that point is within the hierarchy of Hollywood and this industry, but to get that person or those kind of people to like go, this is why we're telling these stories.
Right.
I think it's just leadership, like getting the right people in leadership positions who can and have the ability, power, money, influence, friends, network, etc., to push for those projects that then trickle down to the rest of the people who are involved. Like sometimes, like I'm later in the pipeline, so I just animate things and put in as much as I can, but it comes from the top down in a way. Or like Andy and Vincent just doing stuff from their own.
Well, I mean, like actually, Spider-Verse is actually a very interesting example because Spider-Verse is very unique look and very unique animation style. I think on the artist scene, like we have seen stuff like that, but nobody was willing to be brave enough to put that on a big property that's owned by Marvel on Spider-Man, and that broke the ground, and now everybody wants a Spider-Man look. You have no idea how many clients like, hey, can we do something like Spider-Verse? I'm like, let's do something different. Let's do something cool. But I think to the same parallel, like having the right person that just it's brave to be like, let's not worry about that. You do make something good, people will buy it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's the same idea for the. Now, one thing about like maybe like the authenticity on the Chinese or any Asian culture is nice to push. It's like for a lot of the kids, like now my kids, they born and raised here. They don't know as much about those things. So I would like to actually see more content, and me and my wife actually talking about creating stories that tells more of the authentic, like from not so much historical, but like what are some of those culture that likely is going to be more homogenized and not going to exist anymore, and still have some of that history or some of the culture footprint that like they can look at, be like, oh, like it used to be like that, or like have some of that little authenticity kind of continuing on, because at some point it will be lost or evolve.
That's true.
And they won't they won't know unless they grew up in Hong Kong or China. They won't know what life is like there.
No, and even life there is changing at this point in time.
Exactly. So like it would be nice to have like some sort of way to almost record part of that they can
time capsule.
Yeah, that they can also still have a little bit of that in them.
For sure. 100%. So actually, I think we've actually reached the end of our Q&A portion, but there's still like a lot of questions that's actually out on Facebook and maybe on YouTube and other places. So if you guys have the time, whenever you want, you can always go back into Facebook. You can answer the questions if you'd like to, and because I believe there's a lot of good ones that a lot of people have left in the comment section. But I believe that's the time we have for animation panel. So thanks guys for being here.
Thank you so much. It was really fun.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
and I loved our discussions, and I hope we get to do this again sometime. I think that was really fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, so we'll say goodbye to the panelists. Bye Vincent, bye Andy, bye Jenny.
Goodbye.
Thanks so much. So yeah, thanks to them. That was an awesome panel to moderate. So thank you guys. And if you really enjoyed what you just saw, tell all your friends, tweet, Instagram us at VAF Vancouver, #VAF, #DIF 2020. We are entirely organized and produced by a group of dedicated volunteers. So if you want, and please make a donation to VAF.org. And this is a little bit of a drum roll because I get to now announce next Saturday's May 30th, 2020 panel, which is at 11 a.m. And the topic actually is a fireside chat with Domi Shi, up close and virtual. So this is a really rare opportunity to get close and virtual with Domi to learn about her career as a storyboard artist and eventual director, what has helped strengthen her filmmaking skills. We'll be aiming to touch on really heartfelt conversation of ideation through storytelling. So how does representation affect animation, choices such as character design, shot choices, art direction, et cetera, as the pipeline goes on and on and on. And just a little short bio about Domi. I mean, you guys all know she is a director at Pixar Animation Studios. She wrote and directed Bao, which we've talked about constantly in this panel. And it's a whimsical story loosely based on her own experiences growing up as an only child and set in the Chinese community in Toronto, Canada. Bao screened in front of Incredibles 2 and won the Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film. And what's amazing is this will be moderated by Natasha Jung, founder and executive producer from Cold Tea Collective, a media company sharing stories for, by, and about Asian millennials. Moving forward, I guess I just really want to give a big, huge thank you to our MAM and DIF producers. We have Lynn, Regina, Arnold, Mayumi, Natch, and all the VAF volunteers for making this virtual panel series happen. We would also like to thank all the healthcare professionals, first responders, and essential workers. And really quick, again, check out our Eliminate Hate campaign. We're asking filmmakers and the public to make their own 60-second public service announcement and submit it to eliminatehate.org and check out #EliminateHate for updates. Really quick, just a quick reminder, also tune in tomorrow, Sunday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time zone for our very first Ask Me Anything live stream on Facebook hosted by Milton Ng with guest actor Owen Kwong. We'll dive deep into his thoughts and find out all about him. So submit your questions to ama@vaf.org, #AskMeAnythingVAF, #VAF, #Asian Heritage Month. So honestly, thank you so much. It's been such a great honor. Thanks for tuning in this afternoon, and I hope to see you again next Saturday, May 30th at 11:30. 11. Sorry, my bad, guys. 11. Woo!